Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another session with the Iqbal Study Circle. We are continuing on our discussion with Jawab al-Shikwa. We are on the 26th, 27, and 28 buns. So inshallah, we're going to go ahead and begin with them, inshallah. So Dr. Saab, if you may give us the honor of reading the ashar.
It'll be my pleasure. Just remember that now we are coming to that part of Jawab-e-Shikwa where things are turning positive. Now Iqbal, using the divine kind of perspective, is giving the message of hope. And he's addressing Mali. The Mali basically is the one who takes care of the garden. So here Iqbal said, Dekh kar range chaman, ho na pareshan माली कौकबे गुंचा से शाखें हैं चमकने वाली खसो खाशाक से होता है गुलिस्तां खाली गुल बरंदाज है खूने शुहदा की लाली रंग गर्दू का जरा देख तो अन्नाबी है ये निकलते हुए सूरज की उफक ताबी है ब्यूटीफुल देख कर रंगे चमन परेशान माली तो इजी कौकबे गुंचा से शाखें हैं चमकने वाली है गुंचा is a bird, कोकब is a star. खसो खाशाक, खस is dirt, खाशाक is straws. Gulistan is of course the garden, but here it means the world. Gul barandaz, फूल गुल फूल को गुल कहते हैं barandaz हाथों में पकड़े हुए उठाए हुए खूने शोहदा, the blood of the martyrs. Range gardu, color of the sky. Annabi is red, like mehndi or blood, you would say. Ye nikalta hai suraj ki ufak tabi. Ufak tabi is brightening up the sky. So dekh kar range chaman ho na pareshan mali kaukab guncha se shahe hai chamakne wali khaso khashak se hota hai gulistan khali गुल बरंदाज है खूने शोहदा की लाली रंग गर्दों का जरा देख तो अन्नाबी है ये निकलते हुए सूरज की उफक ताबी है basically that's easy. Now should I just go flowing simple Urdu translation also and then you will take over, Nihal, or you want to take? Okay,
please go ahead.
He says ए माली चमन का ये रंग देखकर परेशान ना हो. Mali, now he's talking to those who are taking care of the millet of Muslims, the community of Muslims. Do not be disappointed or sad or pessimistic by looking at the color as to what the state of affair is today. जो आजकल का जो हालात है इनको देख के परेशान मत हो. कौकबे गुंचा से शाखें हैं चमकने वाली. अभी जो ब्रांचेस हैं उनमें से जो बर्ड्स निकलेंगी उनमें से स्टार्स निकलेंगे चमकेंगे. The stars are about to come out of the branches. In other words, different parts of the Muslim community is going to show the signs of success. Khaso khashak se hota hai gulistan khali. Let me finish this, then I'll just answer. Now this garden is going to be free of all the things that are undesirable, the things that are no longer of any use. Khashak is the straws and dry stuff. Khas is the dirt that is on it. खूने शोहदा की लाली जो है वो गुल बरंदाज है. वो फूलों की थालियां लिए हुए खड़ी है जो जितने लोगों ने खून अपना दिया है. The martyrs that have given their life in this fight, now that is going to bring results. देख गर्दों का जरा देख तो अन्नाबी है. See that the color of the sky is like red, as if this dawn is breaking. ये निकलते हुए सूरज की उफ़क़ ताबी है. Then a coming out sun is brightening up the sky, so you are seeing the breaking of the dawn. Yes, I'm sorry, I just went flowingly. So there was something that somebody wanted to say.
Or may it just have been background noise.
Okay, then go
ahead.
Yeah,
so no, I was going to say, Kokabe Guncha is like, so we are seeing some green shoots,
Yeah, exactly. He made it bright. But when he says Kokabe, he meant star, means that the things, birds are coming out and they are going to be shining stars there. In other words, he's saying that what I am seeing coming out of all this mayhem that we had for Muslim community after the Ottoman Empire was just being destroyed, that now I see the leadership is coming up. So
I think there's a couple of things here. Number one, there's a lot of allegory here. Dekh kar range chaman hona paresham ali. Oh, the one who is gardening, who's taking care of this field, as the range chaman, like as the color changes, he's actually talking about the state of affairs of the believers, as you mentioned, the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, the creation of new nation states, and this I think it was post World War I, right? That's what it was basically happening.
Yes, around that area, not even post yet, but going on.
Yeah, during that time period. So the entire axis of the world was changing. Lines are being drawn in maps straight through without any consideration of what's exactly going on. So exactly like you have what you would consider to be Muslims once upon a time living together, you would now see that there is a partition that's about to maybe take place a few years down the line, the events that'll lead up to that. You'll have the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, you'll have the creation of the State of Israel. All these things are the Muslim Ummah is being very much so divided up, you could say. I actually wanted to bring up a pre-partition map of India, because a lot of people don't understand to what degree, to what large extent pre-partition India actually had looked like, because people think that what map that we have today is what we've basically had forever. But the truth of it, I'll just show it to you right here. This is actually what, at least during the British Empire in 1909, what India actually looked like. So you have present day Pakistan, right? You have all of what is considered India, all of Kashmir. You have all of what is modern day Bangladesh. You have all of even what the majority of Burma looks like. So all of this was now going to be divided up. And now we'll see, as we are going through the text, and what we're looking at is that Allama Iqbal is bringing up the fact that though you may think that things are changing or things are going to not be what they once were, you need to still have a sense of positivity. You need to not be saddened by those events. Dekh kar range chaman hona paresham ali, that the one who is taking care of the believers, don't be dissuaded or become sad because the state of affairs that you're going through. Because the thing that he's also talking about is that there are new things that are about to come out. Basically, the old is going to be done away with and new is about to come out, right? That's what's also being brought up, right? And then on top of that, khaso khashak, he's talking about the things that are in the garden which have no use, like dead leaves or weeds or things like that. So everything that's there, khaso khashak se hota hai gulistan khali, right? That the gulistan, the world or the garden, right? He uses a lot of allegory, is being everything that was nasty there is being removed, right? And this is also a Quranic principle. Allah says that قُلْ لَا يَسْتَوِي الْخَبِيثُ وَالطَّيِّبُ وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَكَ كَثْرَةُ الْخَبِيثِ. That لَا يَسْتَوِي الْخَبِيثُ وَالطَّيِّبُ, that which is disgusting is not the same as that which is pure. الْخَبِيثَاتُ لِلْخَبِيثِينَ وَالْخَبِيثُونَ لِلْخَبِيثَاتِ وَالطَّيِّبَاتُ لِلطَّيِّبِينَ وَالطَّيِّبُونَ لِلطَّيِّبَاتِ. Pure, impure people are for impure people, and pure people are for pure people. So he's also highlighting that fact as well. You see that. So now what we see happening here is that Gul barandaz hai khun shuhada ki lali. And Dr. Sahab, could you actually explain the aspect here where he's saying kisi cheez ko lali kar dena?
नहीं, गुल बरंदाज खून शोहदा की लाली, ये जो लाल रंग हो गया, शहीदों ने अपना खून देके जो लाल रंग कर दिया है, उस लाल रंग की वजह से वो लाली जो है, वो खून जो है, नाउ वो आप अपने हाथों में फूल लेके आया है, गुल बरंदाज है, साल फूल लेके आया कि उस खून ने अपना अब काम कर दिया है, उसका रिजल्ट ये निकला है कि अब उसके लिए फूल निकल रहे हैं, अब वो आपके लिए खुशखबरी लेके आ रहा है. ये है giving credit to the blood of the martyrs, that when they shed that blood, that redness in that blood is now in the giving the color to the flowers that are coming out in your garden.
So the lali thing is like uska lal rang ho jana.
Uska lal ho raha. The redness of the blood of the martyrs is now carrying beautiful flowers at hand to welcome you.
Yeah. And then at the end, he's bringing up Rangigar, he's talking about looking at the sky.
Same thing, yeah.
Zara dekho usme kya ho raha hai. So wo bhi annabi ho gaya hai, right? Wo bhi lal ho gaya hai. Why? Because the sun is rising. There's a new
about to come. Yeah, that the same thing, the same redness that comes in earlier on before the sun actually comes out. He says that is the evidence that yes, things are going to change. You're getting a new dawn, and things are going to look beautiful for you.
Yeah, it's that line from Batman, right, where Harvey Dent says that the sky is darkest before the dawn, and I promise you, the dawn is near.
There you go.
The sky is darkest before the dawn, right? Right before the dawn comes in, that's when the sky is the darkest. So the redness of the shuhada and also the redness of the sun is being shown here, that people have sacrificed. There is something to look forward to, and the sun is rising. Suraj ki ufuk tabi ye dekho, right? Look at the brightness of the sky. Look at the illumination of it.
Ufuk tabi is brightening off the sky. The sun is now going to brighten up the sky.
Yeah.
The Suraj ye kaam kar raha hai. This job is being done by the sun that is going to brighten up the sky. This is important to understand, because what he's saying is the environment is going to be much, much better. The dark night will be over pretty soon. And the sun is now coming out to brighten up your sky. Your world will change. The sun, metaphorically here, is the new day, new dawn.
Yeah.
Your future, yes.
Yep. Okay. Also, for those that were asking.
Yes.
Yeah, no, sorry, Doctor, what were you saying?
I was going to say that let's get some comments about or any questions anybody may have.
Yeah, and for those that were asking, we're on page 58 in the book.
If you have the book in front of you,
yeah, if you have the book. But any questions, comments, concerns, and any reflections anybody had? More than welcome.
Yes, just see how careful Iqbal was from Shikwa, then the beginning of Jawab Shikwa, and how he was still answering the questions that he put in Shikwa first, one by one. And now he's at a point at the juncture where he's going to give a common kind of a message, which is going to lead to real instructions as to what we have to do in practical terms to see to it that the desired results are achieved. So this one basically is just showing you how the scene is going to change, and just kind of console you in a way that don't feel so bad.
All right.
Good.
I guess if nobody has anything to add, we can move to the next line.
It's easy. Okay. उम्मतें गुलशन हस्ती में समरचीदा भी हैं और महरूम समर भी हैं, खजान दीदा भी हैं, सैकड़ों नखल हैं, काहिदा भी, बालीदा भी हैं, और सैकड़ों बतने चमन में अभी पोशीदा भी हैं. नखले इस्लाम नमूना है बरोमंदी का, फल है ये सैकड़ों सदियों की चमन बंदी का. This is fairly easy. Basically, the same theme is continuing. He's just telling you, ummate is the communities, right. Gulshane Hasti in this world, in the garden of this being. Hasti is a good thing to remember. Hast is being there, and Nesti is not being there. Opposite of Hasti is non-existence. So, material world or whatever we see, tangible stuff out there is called Hasti. Bazme Hasti is the gathering of those that are in creation. And Gulshan Hasti is the garden of existence. All those things that are out there that you can see. Samarchida. Samarchida means they bring out the fruit. Samarchida means that something that brings out fruit, brings forward the fruit or bears fruit. Next is Mahrum Samar bhi hai, those that are deprived of the fruits. Khazan Dida, those that have seen the autumn, those that have seen the fall season, when the flowers and the leaves and everything green goes away. That's Khazan, that's the autumn. He said, Ummate Gulshane Hasti mein Samar Chida bhi hai. Those, there are communities in this world that bring fruit, that are doing positive things. Or Mahrum Samar bhi, and there are some that really don't have any good results. They don't bring out fruit. Khazan Dida bhi, and those that have seen the bad days, those that are really like an autumn. Sankadu Nakhal hai. Nakhal is a tree. Kahida bhi. Kahida is the one that is all withered out and just close to dying. And Balida is just the opposite of that. Balida is that is just green and flowery and fresh and growing. So Kahida is chewed up and withering out and going away, so to speak, before it falls off. If you imagine a leaf. Sankado Nahal hai. Nahal, like I said, is a tree. So there are hundreds of trees that are, some of them are actually withering away, or looking as if they are going to die anytime. And there are many that are bringing new leaves and looking fresh and green and are almost ready to bear fruit. Sankadon batne chaman mein abhi poshida bhi hai. And hundreds, batan is the stomach or belly. Chaman, of course, is garden. Poshida is hidden. But there are hundreds that are still hidden, are not yet manifest in this world. They are not yet out there that you can recognize them. But there are several communities that are about to appear on the scene. There are many that are withering away. There are others that are really progressing and getting better and better. There are so many communities in this world that have brought fruit. There are others that are deprived of fruit, and many of them are such that they have actually seen the autumn. In other words, they have actually lost, if they had any fruit, and they have actually been through tough times. Khazan Dida doesn't mean at that time, they mean they have seen the autumn. They know what it looks like. So it's giving you a total picture as to what communities sometimes go through, and hardships, some improve, some wither away, and some new ones come up. So don't be so disappointed by seeing what you're seeing. Nakhle Islam namuna hai bro mandi ka. Nakhal, I said, is tree. The Islamic tree is an example. Namuna hai bro mandi ka. Bro mandi is again being fruitful, or bringing out positive results. Bro mandi technically means something that is about to bear fruit. Phal hai ye sankado sadiyon ki chaman bandi ka. Chaman bandi is making a community, creating a chaman. होता है ना किसी चीज को बनाना. So that is, he says that this is the fruit or the result of hundreds of centuries of creating the communities. Now the tree of Islam right now is an example, a shining example of something that bears fruit, is about to bear fruit. And this is because it has been hundreds of centuries. He says, this is because the effort has been made to get that result over centuries, over hundreds of years.
Yeah. And I think overall, what this Bandha is doing is that it's teaching people, showing people that there are many types of people that are in this world. Number one, you have people that their actions in this world bore fruit, There are those who are deprived of that fruit, and for whatever reason, they to reach their potentials, right? And when they didn't reach their potential, they also found themselves in a state of decay. And then there are other people who, you know, they were evergreen, and other people dried out in that sense, right? They're you know, there were hundreds of people, hundreds of types of people, and some people were, like I said, evergreen, and some people didn't have fruit. Yet at the same time, he brings up that there are still people that are, you know, there are still seeds in the ground that are being watered. There are still Muslims that haven't been born today. There are still people and communities that have not yet come to be today. And he's talking about this in Nakhl Islam Namuna hai Barumandi ka, right? That the tree of Islam is one which inshallah will bear fruit, right? That the tree of Islam will be a prototype, as you had mentioned, like that, or will be a version of people that will succeed, inshallah, because of the fact that pal hai ye sekron sadiyon ki chaman bandi ka, because this planting and this caretaking and this cultivating that has, you know, been happening, chaman bandi, this cultivation of a community has been happening for hundreds and, you know, over 1400 years in sadiyon ka. It's been coming and coming and coming. There was something else actually that I wanted to share that I think would be beneficial. I don't think it's a coincidence that Allama Iqbal is talking about the Muslim community in the context of a tree. In Surah Ibrahim, actually in the Quran, the one thing that is spoken about is how the Muslims, or the kalima, like saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, is like a pure tree. So Allah says, Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan, that Allah strikes an example of a pure word. And the pure word that the scholars have mentioned is in reference to Islam, is in reference to the statement, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. What is it? Kashajaratin tayyibatin, that it's like a good tree. Asluha thabitun, and its roots are very much so fixed and firm.
Firm.
And its branches are going to go into the skies. And actually, the reason I'm bringing this up now is that when we get into the next bund, this aspect is very much so spoken about Islam's likeness to a tree and the Muslim Ummah's likeness to a tree.
Wow.
You know, and I think that this was really like, this was hitting me when I was thinking about this. And then in number 25, that this tree bears fruit every single time by Allah's permission. Allah gives these examples to make people be reminded and to make them ponder. And then he says in verse number 26 that وَمَثَلُ كَلِمَةٍ خَبِيثَةٍ, but the likeness of a bad word or of a sick word, right, or of anything that's opposite to the kalima. كَشَجَرَةٍ خَبِيثَةٍ, it's like this diluted, decaying tree, right? اجْتُثَّتْ مِنْ فَوْقِ الْأَرْضِ, and it's uprooted, right? It's uprooted because its roots are rotten. مَا لَهَا مِنْ قَرَارٍ, and it doesn't give any form of stability, right? And that's the thing. And speaking of our community as a tree, I don't think is a coincidence on the part of Allama Iqbal.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I did not know this part.
Yeah, it's something. It's something.
Yeah.
But you know, I was thinking about that. On top of that, you know, there is a fruit of effort, right? Some that some people bear fruit, some people don't bear fruit. There's all sorts of ummahs, but the main point is that Islam, when properly followed, will bear fruit, and that ummah will bear fruit, because of the fact that this is not about me or you. It's about the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will use us when we do things the right way. I had said this recently that, you know, to someone, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need me to teach, right? And he does not need you to learn. But we're here gathered together because there's some greater effort, right? Because it could very much so be flipped, where maybe I'm the student and you're the teacher. And at the end of the day, we're trying our best to simply be better Muslims. We're trying our best to bring our minds to a place where we understand our faith in a context which is easy to understand, and we are true to it. So it's like that tree. It's just, there are so many different types of people, but the most important thing is to have good intentions and understand. Right? That's what he's saying. That this is something that is being brought up. That this tradition that you are on is one that is not just yours, but has been ongoing for 1400 years. Right? You need to do what you have to do, but at the end of the day, this tradition is bigger than me and you. It's because there are people before us that have cultivated this garden, and now we are in the garden. And those people before us, maybe they have floundered and they've gone away, but now we're in this garden, and now we have to figure out how to best cultivate that garden.
Yep. The thing to remember here is basically it starts with ummate.
Yeah.
The communities. This is not an individual thing here. He was addressing the communities, because the next band that we are going to talk, it really is about community building. And that's a very specific lesson, or a indication that Iqbal was giving about the preference for the Muslims as to what should it be.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, but we should entertain some comments on this.
Yeah, does anyone have anything to add that they'd like to contribute?
Did you mute everybody?
No, everyone can unmute them. So.
Hey, no, I think you explained it very well, and really don't have much in terms of questions. But the good thing is that we are expecting some green shoots, as I said, or the rising of the sun from where we were, in the previous sessions.
Yes.
So this is really very good that we are seeing some hope, and the fact that what Muslims have done over the centuries is going to bear fruit. I remember one time we were somewhere, and one of our shairs, Ahmed Faraz, was there. So somebody asked him, "Ke Pakistan ke baare mein aapka kya khayal hai?" Those are the difficult times when we had a lot of terrorism and all that going on. So he said it looks like a time where you've gone through a very long, dark night. And when you look ahead, what you see is sunset. So what here we are seeing is that there is signs of sun coming out, or rising. So a very, very different kind of message.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, here the scholarship of Iqbal, or his technique, is amazing. He is now saying that you're not alone in this. Communities have been some that are really, they do bear fruit at a certain time in their existence. Others at a time, they may be going through a period where they are not bearing any fruit at that time. There are some that have seen, springs and summers and falls. There are others that are looking very withered out, and some that are now coming up with green. So don't be too concerned about what you see out there, because this is not new. This is something that has been the tradition of existence, that communities come up and communities go down. And there are several communities that are still not even out there yet. The new ones that will come up. So, but when it comes to Islam, he says the tree of Islam is such that it has been more or less making its way over centuries. And this is what you are seeing now on the horizon is a result of those centuries of really building up a kind of methodology or a mechanism whereby you can only grow, you can only prosper. So this is giving a hope, but he's doing that by telling you that don't be surprised as to what you see, because things are going to change.
Inshallah.
Mariam,
Okay.
did you have a question?
Oh, it wasn't a question. I was just commenting along the same lines that I really love how this is changing in a tone of hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely very encouraging. And I always think, like, as we go through each of these, I really realize that although it was written, years ago, it's still very relevant to
Very, very applicable today. Yes.
Very true. Okay. Anyone else have any comments that they'd like to add? I think there was something in the chat box. Let me see. Iqbal used to translate Quran in Urdu and I think in Farsi. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he was in the process when he passed away, and he was not just translation, his tafsir, they say, was just about ready to come out. And somehow or the other, that was not saved. So nobody really has it. But yes, he had done significant work on tafsir of Quran. And he was not advertising it much because he obviously always laid low compared to other Muslim scholars at the time. Yeah. But his translation, his reading of Quran was such that he has used that in poetry. One of his verses somewhere says that if I have used anything other than Quran in my poetry, then I'll be punished on the day of judgment. So he was so sure that none of his verses really collides with the message of Quran. Yes.
So none of his translations are available, though, of whatever he did of the Quran?
No, it never was published. No.
Is it available in an unpublished version?
Nope.
Okay.
There's some tragedies occurred at the time where whosoever was supposed to save it, and Iqbal, his son was young, but whosoever was supposed to save, they say there are theories that he was leaning towards one fraction of Islam rather than other in some portions, and others that felt that he was Sunni all his life, so how could he do that? Somehow or the other, something went wrong, and they felt it desirable to not save those papers, those documents. But that's just a hearsay. We don't have anything confirmed about that.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, next Band is going to come up with a little farm for a Muslim community that Iqbal is envisioning at that time as to how he wants to see the Muslim community develop. Now Iqbal says, Pak hai garde watan se sare daman tera, tu wo Yusuf hai ke har Misr hai Kanaan tera, काफिला हो न सकेगा कभी वीरान तेरा, गैरे यक बांगे दरा, कुछ नहीं सामा तेरा, नखले शम्मा अस्ती वो दर शोला दवद, रेशाए तो आकबत सोज बवद, सायाए अंदेशाए तो. The last verse is Persian. I'll come to that at the end. But the first four lines, garde watan, watan ki dhul, watan ki mitti. But here gard is used in a negative way. So your dirt is good, yes. Sare dama, your lap, so to speak, your clothing or your being. Sare means the tip of it or top of it. Dama is your lap in the front part of your shirt. Daman. Tu wo Yusuf hai कि हर मिस्र है कनान तेरा. So you are that precious item that every Egypt is Canaan. Canaan is where Yusuf alayhi salam was born and where his father was. And he was sold in Misr, in Egypt. So he says, he's using those words that you were born in Canaan, you were sold in Misr, and you are Yusuf. So every marketplace is where you will be born, so to speak. So he says that you will bloom up from everywhere. Every bazaar, Misr here is using for bazaar. You are that precious item that is desirable in every market. That's what he's saying, that Islam will be popular throughout the world if you extrapolate it further.
Yeah. You will make your home wherever you go.
Exactly, but not necessarily. No, it's beyond that. Not that you will make a home, but every place you will be born, because if Canaan tera is where you were born, so you will be born in every bazaar, har Misr mein. And that is the kind of gem you are. You are that Yusuf that are marketable, are precious, or worthy. And you are Kanaan Teras means where you were born, where that you can rise up from there.
Yeah.
In other words, you will be born wherever anybody wants to sell you, so to speak.
So just to actually mention one more thing in Arabic, actually. So Misr is in reference to Egypt. In Arabic, Misr is also in reference to any land, actually. So in fiqh, they'll utilize Misr to refer to any countryside.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, here in parable, he's basically saying the same thing. Yeah. So here I was using Bazar because that's where he was sold.
Right.
Okay. He had to go to Misr to put a price on his, being. So, but he has used that example basically in the context that you belong throughout the globe, not in one place. So let me go to Pak hai Gar de Watan. Gar de Watan means being called a nation or a country is a dirt on you. Don't call yourself belonging to one country. You are beyond that. You are above that. There is no one country that you belong to, and you are limited to that because you are above that. So your being is free of being confined to one nation. Tu wo Yusuf hai ki har misra ka naam tera. You actually are supposed to be born or supposed to be coming out from everywhere. Kafla ho na sakega kabhi viran tera. Your caravan will never be deserted or less in numbers or desolate. Why? Gaire yak bange dara. Kuch nahi saman tera. Here, this line is probably explaining all the three lines on top. Gaire means other than. Yak means one. Bange dara means marching bell, call to move on. Kuch nahi saman tera. You see, here he says just one call from anywhere. All Muslims, wherever you are, should be able to get up and march. In other words, yak bange dara. सबके लिए है कि ये नहीं कि पाकिस्तानियों के लिए ये हिंदुस्तानियों को कहो कि तुम बैठ जाओ फलानों को आओ इनका साथ दो. No, all of you should respond to one marching order, and that is what you should have. Your sama, your something that your resource that you should be proud of should be unity throughout wherever you are. So that is a very clear message here that he does not want Muslims to be identified by nations, by countries, but by a millah or a ummah that is one, unity. एक हूँ मुस्लिम हरम की पासबानी के लिए नील से लेकर नील के साहिल से लेकर ताबहा के काश्वर. So this is the preamble to that. This band is actually taking you to that message that Muslims should be united from the banks of the Nile to the Kashgar up in Russia. Haram ki pasbani ke liye, to safeguard the message of Islam.
Can we also do the last two lines, the Persian ones?
Oh, Nakhle Shamma asti o darshola davadresha tu. Nakhle Shamma asti is the Persian word to you are the tree of a lamp. Nakhl, like I said, is a tree. Shamma is the lamp or light. You are the tree of a lamp. Padarshola davadresha to, and your roots are in the flame. In other words, he's saying that you are actually like a flame, like a very bright, brilliant, kind of powerful being. That kind of a tree you are, that you are tree of a lamp, like a light, and your roots are in the flames. Akbat soz babad saya andeshaito. And your thoughts are actually akbat soz. Unko kisi akbat ki parwa nahi hai. They are not worried about any hardship at all. Your thought process, the saya and andesha is thought, saya is the shadow. The shadow of your thought actually is so fearless that it's not afraid of any consequence at all, because you can actually burn anything that comes your way. Being a tree that has tree out of a lamp or of a light, not the lamp, electric lamp that doesn't give that picture, but if you remember the lamps that had actual burning fires, that's what he's saying. And your roots are in that flame. It's an amazing symbolism that he's using here.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So this Nakhle Shamasti means tree of light. Is that you are a tree of light?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the translation that I put is a tree of a tree with illuminating lamps, or like an illuminating lamp.
But Shamma is not really light. Shamma is something that burns, that gives light.
Because Shama is a flame usually, right?
Yeah. No, the Shola is flame.
Shola, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Shamma is the one that gives that Shola. But it's a little bit more than light. That's what I'm trying to say. Do you eliminate, you bring out light, but you have a body of your own, so to speak.
How about a glow?
No, glow will be just the nur. That would be the light that is you can't touch. Shola you can touch. Shamma you can touch.
Got it. Yeah, the way I pieced it together is that the tree of an illuminating lamp wherein your roots are within a flame.
Exactly. In other words, you are embodied in that kind of a force, that kind of a heat and light that nothing can burn you. And this is why he says, Akabat soz bhavad, saya andeshato. And your thought process and your imagination is beyond any fear. You can burn out anything that comes your way. That's why he used the burning tree kind of a symbolism here, because nothing can scare you. Nothing should be making you afraid.
Yeah. Muqaddas mentioned something which is really important, which I think is very much sort of these lines. She says that, you said it's completely off track. It's actually not off track at all. We should be working on making our children good Muslims and not necessarily good Indians or Pakistanis, but rather have a good faith as opposed to a cultural identity crisis. Yeah, that's definitely there, because I think a lot of times people will, there's extremes, right? I think either people will say, well, you're not this, you're not a Indian or a Pakistani or a Arab or a Turk or whatnot. It's important to realize that's your ethnic background, right? And if children are being forced to pick between, am I a white American or a black American? No, you're very much so a Pakistani American or an Indian American, but we don't give that a hierarchy over being a Muslim American, for example. You happen to be American, fine, you're here, but what matters first is your Muslim identity. So you can be Muslim Pakistani American, or Muslim American Pakistani, however you want to look at that. But the fact that you're in America is that you can live in a place which will respect and honor and include your ethnic background into the fabric of this country. So I think, yeah, it's important to first favor Islam every time and all the time over being Pakistani or being Palestinian or being Egyptian or being anything for that matter. And he's saying that here, it's like, you're not, don't just restrict yourself to the dirt of a nation, rather be like Yusuf, who's, he will be born in every place, right? And that beauty and that splendor will be in every place. And the caravan, will never be lacking. It will never be deserted. And to keep in mind that besides the call to march, besides the call to rally yourself as a Muslim, everything else is secondary. It doesn't really matter. And that's where the subject matter in the Persian verses he's mentioning is that the Muslim community is the tree of an illuminating lamp whose roots are a flame. And that flame is something that's positive, right? So you're not like, don't just get, why are you going to settle for dirt when you can settle for a flame, right? That's the main point, where the flame, anything that's thrown at it, it burns it. And at the same time, the shadow of its thoughts, its processes, its philosophies, it will explain itself without care for consequence. I think all of that is brought into light here for us to reflect on.
Yes. Now, this should really raise a whole lot of controversy or discussion here, because here is a turning point in in the history of Indian Muslims, because he was basically an Indian Muslim, Iqbal, when he was writing that as that entity, and he was trying to make a point that ghaire yak bange dara kuch nahi saman tera. There should be one message for all of you, and you should get together and move and march on to that call. All of you should respond to one call. That's exactly what he's trying to say here. Ghaire yak bange dara kuch nahi saman tera. There is nothing else that you need but one combined mission. And that combined mission should not have any boundaries or nationalities restricting it, but all of Muslims, anywhere they are, should basically respond to that call to march on, to do whatever is necessary, to save your brethren, save your honor, save your future, whatever one needs to do to build a big ummah. You see, this thing, this controversy had lasted for 10, 15 years prior, let's say from 1930, 32 to almost like 44, 45, when this struggle was going on. Should Muslims basically stay within that confine and struggle there, or should they have a separate land? And separate land was considered to be probably one way of going. However, it was least practical at the time. And Iqbal in the beginning was not in favor of separating away. But then instead of separating from India and becoming a Pakistan or anything else, he brought this into a broader sense, that we are not saying anything about making a different country or a boundary and stuff like that, but making a millat, making a ummat that will, entail all Muslims wherever they are. We will be beholding to Islam rather than a country. So in some of the verses, he says that the biggest new idol god that we have created is a nationhood. But afterwards, he kind of moved away from that thought. But इन सबसे बुत इन सबसे बड़ा वतन है, जो इसका क्या है, जो इसका निगहबान है, वो मिल्लत का कफन है, something like that. That whosoever believes in that is like that is like burying your dreams. So he went through those different thoughts, but here basically it's a clear message that he's saying that you are much bigger than you realize, and you should just stick together as one ummah.
Yeah, so a lot definitely to think about for people to keep in mind.
Yes.
Okay, would love to hear from people. I know we went through a decent amount of stuff. We spoke about how now the tone of Jawab al-Shikwa is changing. We are now looking at this from a more positive perspective. We're looking at this from the perspective of how the ummah is a tree, right? And not only that, within a garden, and how this community within this garden, we have to conduct ourselves, and how the state of affairs of the believers is about to change. There's a new dawn, upon the ummah. And now there's also talk about how there are different types of people within the ummah. So we shouldn't, this is another point too, right? Sometimes people judge others based on the worst of them, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, look at who the best of them were. Look at what we had been able to do. So at the beginning of Jawab al-Shikwa, we had spoken about, oh, you were the ones that put the Quran to your chest. Oh, you were the ones that put your head down to, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by making such as the Kaaba. Sure, the worst of them is being spoken about, but also the best of them is being spoken about. So now we're seeing that come to life, and that what should matter is not where you're from, right? Rather, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, that those people who are the closest to God or the most honored in the eyes of God are those who have the most taqwa. And I think all of that being said and done is what's most important to keep in mind. So from you that are here, what are things that you're reflecting on? What are things that you're thinking about? I'd love to hear from you all.
I think everything is basically clear, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Here in this band that you have is Garde Watan and Yak Bange Dara. These are the two things to remember.
Yeah.
That don't be tangled into the impurity or the dirt of being just belonging to only one nation and not worrying about Muslims elsewhere. And number two, Yak Bange Dara means just one mission for all of you. And when any leader, a Muslim leader that needs help, is asking for it or is giving a clear indication as to what needs to be done next, just follow that rather than having different kind of paths for everybody, yeah, as a nationality or a background or whatever. So these are the messages in this one that he gave. We may not have much time for the next one, no? Right? Do we?
Yeah, we're basically done. Yeah.
9:27, yeah.
Yeah, but Muqaddas mentions that Iqbal is taking us back to the power of our faith and belief. Yep, that's exactly what it is to favor our faith and our belief over everything else and any other form of classification that we utilize to separate ourselves as humans.
Yep.
I guess we can also just leave off a little early today and let everyone get a couple more minutes. Usually we end up going over 15, 20 minutes at a time. So, Tayyib, it's beautiful how you connect to the Quranic verses as we go along. Yeah, that's the point. This little collaboration that me and Dr. Burhan have is so we can kind of get a varied perspective as to understanding this text. That's the most important thing. Okay. All right.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Inshallah, everyone. Jazakallah khair for joining. Hopefully see you all next week. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Wa alaikum assalam. Till next week, inshallah.
Tayyiba, to your question, where can you get a bio of Dr. Abdul Rahman? It should be on the back of the book, but I'm sure, Doctor, somebody wants your biography. Where can they find it?
I don't. I mean, I'm embarrassed.
You can get it from the book, right? If somebody has the book,
the book is at the masjid, so masjid can give the book out.
Yeah.
They have a little something about me there.
Yeah.
And I have, when tomorrow's program, they will talk about me for about an hour.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether everybody has a link or not.
Yeah.
Most of my books, every book just basically has my introduction.
Yeah.
And those books will be available. Some are available at the masjid at Princeton Mosque, but I'll put more out there.
Yeah.
Let me give my bio though for a minute because we still have a minute.
Yeah.
I was born in Kashmir, that's part of Pakistan, and I studied in Karachi in medical school, and I came right after graduation to Detroit for 1 year, and then have been in New York since 1967, 68. I did hematology oncology, but I stopped practicing when I was 70 years old, 5 years ago. And I have loved Urdu since beginning, although my basic Zaban is, my language, mother tongue is Pahari, or close to Punjabi, not Kashmiri. Kashmiri I did not learn. And of course, I have love for Urdu and a love for Iqbal and Rumi. I've studied Persian a little bit, but I'm a student of Persian, but student of Rumi and Iqbal. And my poetry books are based on these two poets. My poems basically look like Iqbal's poems, if you ever get a chance to read. Today I read one poem to Brother Tahir Zafar, and he was very moved. But anyway, I being a poet and somewhat versed in Urdu, I can understand Iqbal and explain a little bit differently than most people who will simply translate the words and not have a poetic kind of a feeling to it. So this is why I feel that I should really do as much translation work as I can so that our children can benefit. And I'm doing that in English, simple Urdu. And that's on the pattern of the way I did on Shikwa that Nihal has in his hands. So basically gives a little bit of simple English, simple Urdu translation. So that's my brief background. I'm now up in age and I'm trying to wrap things up.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Taiba, to your question for me, just in short, I currently live in Connecticut. I'm the director of religious affairs at a masjid out here. My background is that I completed an undergraduate degree in psychology in New Jersey. And then from there, I was in India for about 3 years in the city of Lucknow, where I completed an Alamiya degree. And then I came up to Connecticut to complete my master's in Islamic studies, or in religious studies technically, which I did in 2019. And then between the Islamic Center of Connecticut, I also work with St. Francis Hospital as a hospital chaplain. And yeah, just seeing what the next steps are. I'm actually planning to go to law school. So that's where I'm at. So, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. All right, everyone. Take care. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.